welcome to Cyber Sidekicks, the weekly cybersecurity podcast hosted by Richmond Advisory Group's principal analysts, namely me, Christina Richmond.
And me, Rory Duncan. This podcast is your go-to partner for understanding the cybersecurity market, industry trends, and the real-world challenges of protecting organizations today. Hello, Christina, how are you?
Hello, Rory, across the pond. I am well. I'm wishing for some macadamia nut brittle ice cream, which I just learned about from Rory. It sounds so good.
Yeah, we were talking about ice cream before the show. Yeah, it's the middle of winter, but we're talking about ice cream. And I would mention that that's my favorite. That's my wife's favorite version of it, or flavor. But you can't really get it individually in Europe anymore. Only in these kind of 6-pack boxes of little tubs. Anyway.
And you can get it in the little tubs, though. That's good too.
Yeah, but it's like you have to buy a whole box of them just to get, it's like the vanilla selection, just to get and she doesn't like the kind of cookies and cream one, but then that's fine because I'm very happy to eat that.
But it's winter, as you say, but we eat ice cream all year. So. Anywho, what do we have on the show today? What's coming up?
Another packed show as ever. And I think the question is, what would an analysis of 6 billion passwords tell us about user behavior, do you think?
We could have some guesses.
Yeah. Is it the case that people are using, 64-character hexadecimal codes?
Oh, right.
Or like long sentences of random words to protect their personal and business passwords?
Of course they are.
Oh, yeah, they must be. Well, we'll be looking at a report to find out.
Okay, we'll see. Hey, and then, Rory, I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Would you give your health data to ChatGPT? They've just launched a new thingy.
Oh, I have to think. I'd have to think about that, and the answer would be absolutely not. It's a crazy idea.
No, but they say they're going to help you feel more informed, prepared, and confident navigating your health. What do you think?
Well, I think the skeptics amongst us would probably say, I don't believe you. Very much like Will Ferrell in Anchorman. So, we'll learn a bit more about ChatGPT health later. And then what else?
Well, and we're going to have a fascinating discussion about that with our guests. So more on that in a second.
Mm-hmm. And then also a little bit about some earnings. Well, really, it's really about, had you ever doubted that 2025 had been a bumper year for M&A activity, right? But I took a look at the last week's earnings announcement from Goldman Sachs, of course, lead investor on, for example, Alphabet's $33 billion acquisition of Wiz last year. And of course, they were involved in many other things. So the fact that they're doing well indicates that, well, how is the market doing? So more to follow. So we'll be looking a little bit more at that. And what else?
Yeah. And hey, at the end of the episode, we're going to tell you how we are switching it up, to use that American phrase, Rory. And we will be changing some of our podcast structure. We will be doing a competitive analysis episode. So we'll tell you more, but you have to wait until the end of the episode or fast forward, I guess.
No fast forwarding.
No fast forwarding.
Listen to every word that comes from our mouth is pure gold.
That's right.
Absolutely.
So who is our guest today?
Our guest is not a stranger. He's coming back again. It's Ryan LaSalle, CEO of Nisos.
Lovely.
So the last time he was here, we had a great discussion about insider threat management, the human part of that.
Yeah.
But this time we'll be looking at executive protection, which sounds like maybe like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
I think it is. I think Rory, he's going to tell us about all of the, sort of Van Damme figures that he hires at Nisos. No, not at all. Well, not at all. That's not what it is, folks. It'll be really an interesting discussion, especially in light of the ChatGPT health announcement.
Indeed. Yeah, let's do a couple of news stories then. Christina, what have we got first?
Okay, well, we asked the question, right, when we said what would be on the show. What would an analysis of 6 billion passwords tell us about user behavior? Surely everyone is using the 64-character hexadecimal codes. Are they? I think not. Security Week has done a dive into poor password hygiene and how it persists, right? They've looked at a report that came out of SpecOps or SpeakOps software. They are a password management firm. And this report was based on an analysis conducted by the threat intelligence team of its parent company, Outpost 24. And what did they find, Rory? What did they find?
Well, sadly, very sadly and shockingly, the analysis found that the 5 most common passwords compromised in 2025 were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8.
So unique.
Yeah.
What about things that I always thought were main passwords in this realm? Admin?
Oh yes,
password?
That was one of them. And password. So I think anybody who still uses those these days, please, come on, dudes. This is this is basic stuff. I mean, okay. If you're new to the internet and everything, if you just woke up from, suspended animation from the 1980s, fair enough. But this is just terrible. So, however,
it's upsetting.
Yeah,
it's upsetting, and I actually am a little bit madder. You're like, come on, dudes. I want to do a proper scolding. People, stop this nonsense. You are endangering yourselves, your parents, your friends, your place of work, your business. Stop it.
Yeah.
It is easy now to go with a password management company like a SpecOps software or any of the other ones and to sign on for not very much money and get them to generate the 20-character random password on your behalf and save it. So all you have to do is remember the one and only password that gives you access to everything.
Yeah.
And no one can hack that one password because it is in a vault and only you have the decrypting key that will allow you access to it. I mean, proper scolding here, folks. Please wake up and stop this nonsense.
Yeah, I think I do remember, in days gone by, when you got a new router, like an internet router from your service provider or whoever, typically the admin password was always admin. And I know that the report does point out that a lot of passwords, such as admin or passwords, were just by default set. But the point is you kind of open it up, take it out of the box, and should immediately change that password. However, it still doesn't excuse folk from not doing that. Maybe there are some that are still, left in a room somewhere covered in dust, but they're still working. But at the same time, I mean, now, for instance, in the when you're buying a router these days or a router these days, however you call it, the admin password is different. It's not just a standard one. So that should be the case with everything else.
Well, I think the other thing to scold on, and I'm sorry, folks, I'm up on my soapbox a bit, but the other thing to scold on is you think you're isolated in your own little realm and no one could possibly care about your computer. But, attackers have taken control of individuals' computers for many decades now in order to make a bot army and do denial of service attacks and many other types of attacks. And so you won't even know that they've got control of your computer. And then you might say to me, well, I don't care what they do, but you can be held liable. Yep. So that's where it bites you in the proverbial keister.
Yeah.
So please, folks, wake up.
Yeah, fine. Okay. We can get down off our soapbox now, I think.
I don't know. I might be on it all morning.
Uh-oh. Right. Well, let's move on to the next story before that happens then. And let's talk about M&A. Christina, now this isn't about something that has happened this week. It's really just to provide proof, if it were required, that 2025 was a bumper year for merger and acquisition activity generally, but also for the security industry. And this is reflected in the fact that Goldman Sachs has done pretty well. Its fourth quarter profits beat Wall Street expectations. driven by a surge in deal-making and trading, and it's expressing strong optimism for investment banking in the year ahead. Now, there's various reasons cited for this, friendly regulatory environment, lower interest rates and excess cash, etc. But there has been this rally in mergers and acquisition. We saw this kind of a slump that was in 2023, and it came racing back in 24 and last year. Now, Goldman Sachs advised on some of the largest mergers in 2025, including the leveraged buyout of Electronic Arts and Alphabet's $32 billion acquisition of cloud security firm Wiz, right? And we talked extensively about that before.
It's interesting. The numbers kind of vary. We've seen 33 and we've seen 32 on Wiz. I think it might be 32. But, what's a spare billion here and there? It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
What stood out for me here was the friendlier regulatory environment, the friendlier adjective alongside under U.S. President Donald Trump. And not to get political here, but I would not say that friendlier and Trump go together in most sentences. But that was interesting. So you did already call that out. And apparently, folks believe that because of this and because of the continued administration and because of what we saw in 2025, that 2026 is going to be an incredibly constructive year for M&A and capital markets.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I know. And I think to your point, typically at the beginning of the year, IPOs are flagged, or at least the suspicions that they're being flagged. Companies such as SpaceX, OpenAI, Anthropic could be IPOing this year, and they would be huge, given how much investment's already been put into these companies. Investors are going to want to try and get some kind of return, so we can expect that to be the case. I did put in here, though, Christina, I'd say a kind of a word of caution, and this is something it's like that kind of nagging voice in the background. It's almost like the voice of reason that kind of just won't kind of go away, and that's the fact that hidden amongst the earnings in Goldman's a case, but it'll be the case in others as well, that Goldman's expenses have risen in 2025, and those operating expenses in the quarter rose 18% to just shy of 10 billion, right? That's a lot. And partly this is due to investments in AI operations, as well as higher compensation for salaries and bonuses. I think the challenge is when you're looking at increasing revenue and you're also increasing expenses, there is a tendency to kind of one cancels out the other, right? Because of it eats into your margin. Yeah, exactly.
Well, you hope that you get an equal, growth and expense rate, or maybe less expense rate growth and more revenue growth rate. But, you hope that it cancels each other out. The other thing that we were talking about before we started recording, Rory, was Denmark and how they're starting to sell U.S. bonds. And so what will the geopolitical landscape do? What will the impact be to U.S. development, to international mergers and acquisitions and investments like Goldman Sachs that is based in the U.S.? What will the impact be to Wall Street? How will this impact cybersecurity overall? We don't know. But I think a word of caution is very necessary there.
Definitely, given the sums and the figures that are going around. We often talk about, finance and geopolitics separately, but they're all interlinked. At the moment that we're chatting, Christina and I here in the virtual studio chatting, there's a collection of very important and influential people in Davos in Switzerland happening.
That's right. And the speeches there are fascinating.
Yeah.
All of them, I may say, are fascinating for different reasons. And I need to do some more listening and reading there. But I think interesting times that we live in, and I'm not sure that's a good thing. But here we are.
Yeah. So. That's a big one. So the last but most important news story of the day, Christina, is regarding ChatGPT, but not specifically ChatGPT. This is about OpenAI introducing ChatGPT Health, which basically means giving ChatGPT all of your personal health data to the betterment of yourselves, of course, and to help you in all sorts of different ways. Now, before we discuss it, we're going to bring in this week's special guest, who is Ryan LaSalle, CEO of Nisos, who I'm sure will have some insight and commentary to give on this, as well as probably a fairly opinionated view on what this means and what people should do. So, Ryan, hello, welcome back. This is your second time on the show. Thanks for joining us for this, and thanks for joining to discuss this particular topic.
It's great to be back, Rory, and such a fascinating time that we're all living in.
Absolutely. It's great that you could be on, and we know that you have opinions about this, and we were going to talk it through.
We were going to talk about, it's perfect timing. I love when synchronicity abounds, right? We're bringing Ryan on to talk this week about executive protection, not the insider management that we talked about, or insider threat management that we talked about the last time. And so this news story just is kind of, perfect fit for this. So let's just go through what the news thing is and then get Ryan's reaction, shall we?
Yeah, sure. So what is it? Well, OpenAI announced ChatGPT Health, described by the firm as a dedicated experience that securely brings your health information and ChatGPT's intelligence together to help you feel more informed, prepared, and confident navigating your health. So, Ryan, should that be the reaction if people are going to give ChatGPT their health information?
Confidence? Should that be the reaction?
or the snigger I just had.
I mean,
confidence or laughter.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're living in a time of opportunity, and the number of health AI initiatives that are underway are reflective of a real problem that people have, especially with the state of the current health system. Like, everything is so fragmented. The problems they identify and why ChatGPT Health is a good idea, I think, are real things that people struggle with. They struggle with understanding all the different fragmented parts of their health experience. They struggle understanding simple questions around what it means and what they should do. The idea of simplifying that and bringing it under one unifying experience for people, that in an experience that they're really comfortable with, talking to a bot, I think I can see why.
Sure.
Hundreds of doctors said, "Yeah, let's help make this happen." And I think that notion of should you react with confidence? I think we all, as security professionals, react with skepticism as our first natural reaction to every new thing. To see, is it going to have a duty of care that doesn't create more opportunity for the bad guys than it does for the good guys?
Right. And I mean, they do say that there will be additional layered protections designed specifically for health. They also say that they will not use it to train their foundation models. But it's almost like, we promise, we swear, really we do. And I know I'm in this industry too, Ryan, but I'm very cautious and skeptical. Even as just a regular, walkabout human, I don't know that I want the bots having all this information about me.
Yeah, I think there's definitely always going to be a trade-off, and people have to make their own sort of, I'd say, personal risk decisions about where their data goes. I mean, one of the things we talk a lot about in digital executive protection is that there have been so many breaches, and in those breach data sets is all of people's digital exhaust that really focuses in on whole signals about their life that attackers who want to take advantage or can use to figure out how to physically target them. And now we're talking about a richer and aggregated data set that probably doesn't exist in any single place until it all comes into OpenAI. So I think that notion of, I'm glad they're thinking about and advertising the specific protections for healthcare data, because there is a higher burden on doing this. But man, that is an area that I'd be very excited about if I'm trying to target people.
Right, if you were an attacker, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So one of the things that they said was, this is OpenAI said that they will be putting in, they call purpose-built encryption and isolation to keep health conversations protected and compartmentalized. Now, that sounds good, but in practice, where this has been done before, not necessarily with health data, there is nothing that's really super safe and secure, right? And information about your health is like the most personal kind of information that could be used against you in many ways, or for nefarious reasons, depending on the particular state in America or local laws, etc., where, things like, reproductive health and so on varies in terms of legislation by state. It always sounds good when companies say, oh yeah, we've got encryption, isolation, it's all protected and compartmentalized. But Ryan, nothing is really that secure at the end of the day, is it?
That is a tough and loaded question, Rory. I think the only thing that's really secure is something that's often in a lead box, right? That's what we've always said. Right. And I think to your point on the value of the data, I think historically health records have been much more valuable. They demand a premium on the dark web historically over other things like credentials or other forms of PII.
Yeah, no, I have huge curiosity about that. I mean, from your report that I read on executive protection, 98% of company executives had property addresses, right, publicly linked to their name in public records. So that makes sense to me. If you're protecting an executive in physical form, you look at all the digital exhaust and you find out that their home address is publicly accessible. That is scary. But why healthcare records? What can be done with those? And what does it tell an attacker? What kind of leverage does it give them? I'm fascinated by this and terrified, I must say.
There's almost nothing more private than what's going on inside your own body.
Right.
I think there are several different avenues of attack once you have healthcare data. I think certainly private decisions between you and your doctor that you don't want to get out. Either maybe you're embarrassed. Maybe you just don't want people to know what's going on with you. If you're going through a treatment, if you're going whatever, it is your business and nobody else's. But you worry that others might make judgments or decisions based on that information, and you're trying to control how you appear to the outside world. So this pierces that veil completely. Other areas become areas of vulnerability. If you know that I have asthma, if you know that I have allergies, if you know that I have maybe life-threatening allergies, you can use that to exploit and do me harm as well. So, I mean, I think there are things that as you kind of everywhere in between, right, Christina? I think that's for me, that's a little bit of the thought process from a physical risk all the way to a reputational risk and everywhere in between. Once OpenAI brings this together, what can you do about it? What can you do with it almost as like a platform play? I think monetization of the data is certainly one. I think Australia's health service had a really novel idea a decade ago, which was that you are the owner of your healthcare data and you decide who gets to see it and when, and you authorize different service providers to connect to your health record that you own. And the government is the owner of the repository. You are the broker of access. That sounds really good. At that point, now you're trusting the Australian government instead of OpenAI. At some point, you're putting trust in somebody to aggregate all that data for you.
Yeah, unless you keep it in that lead box yourself, and it's all printed out, and you carry it around with you. It's a little bit like I've lived in France for many years, and a great health system there. You basically take control of your diagnosis and where you go. You don't have to have a doctor's referral. You pay a set fee, but there's always this running joke of you have to walk around with your fiche, your folder of stuff, and it's your scans, it's your X-rays, it's literally stuff is falling out. All this paper, you carry around this fiche, and that was it at that point. There is an attraction in having some of that online, but there was also something good about having everything in your hand.
Well, so I immediately go to like Jack Bauer 24, and for the youngins listening, maybe they don't remember that show, but it was very exciting in a doom and gloom kind of way. Like, what could possibly happen on the episode this week? Well, there were things in the health concern that now are becoming a potential reality with IoT, or folks have hacked into the pacemaker just as a test, in this is 5 years ago or something at RSA, maybe 10 years ago. I'm getting long in the tooth, Ryan. But
it was actually when Dick Cheney was vice president, so it's been quite some time.
Thank you. Wow. Okay, I'm that old. But I mean, hacking into a pacemaker, allergies that you mentioned. You have a life-threatening peanut allergy and suddenly you can't find your antihistamine injection, right? Because it has been stolen, because they have your house details that they found publicly available, and maybe they even have the floor plans, which terrified me reading in your report. 88%, right, had interior photos or floor plans available on popular realtor sites. Sorry, I'm laughing, but it's not funny, and I'm actually seen
some of the walkthroughs actually show you where the security cameras are. You can actually, if you wanted to create your own recon, you can just do it digitally on the realtor site.
Wow.
It just continues to add to the digital dossier that you want to build around a person. Different ways of thinking about how to attack that. I mean, I think the notion that OpenAI is putting out there around purpose-built encryption, I don't know what that means exactly, but there was really true isolation down to the person, where if something got corrupted inside their environment, that the damage was limited to the single identity that was affected. Like those kinds of things could make it less damaging. And I think the notion of sort of a wholesale vacuum of health data in any of its forms, whether it's from a hospital data system or now OpenAI, I think it's a huge and complex target environment. I think is OpenAI doing it. It's moving the attack surface and risk somewhere else.
It is. And I loved that you recommend that, if you have PII or PHI exposures, what can you do? And you can request removals. So I think if folks are going to hear this as a caution, if you choose to use ChatGPT Health, is there a privacy button? Is there I want my access to all my data, I want to remove my data selection on that platform? I don't know if there is something that we need to investigate.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. We need to delve in. Maybe that's a task for me, Christina. I shall delve in a little bit more.
You'd expect the right to be forgotten would be one of the things you could. I think that notion of like, so what controls does it give you? How do you protect yourself from the downside while enjoying that upside? Because I think there's a reason why it's important. We have a really broken system, and it is filling a niche and a need.
Yeah,
that people really truly have. So how do we do it in a way that protects them? Other minds in the past have tried this as well and haven't considered it as well.
Yeah, and indeed on the flip side of it, looking at some of the ways that this would be attractive when you ask people about it. We always joke about Dr. Google, right? When you're trying to do some self-diagnosis, but maybe Dr. GPT. Or Dr. ChatGPT Health would also help you to, do some examination of symptoms. The temptation to use something like ChatGPT Health, which will cross-reference data, it will look up symptoms, it will, look at test cases or case studies or whatever. There is an attraction to that if you are concerned about your health and if you have a lack of immediate access to a physician, for example. So I can see that. The other thing I noted, if we're looking to have a balanced argument, is at least in the UK, well, also in Europe, health service data does get hacked and does get sold on the dark web already from hospitals and other places that supposedly secure these things online. It's not an unprecedented scenario. The question, I think, is back to you, Ryan, which was, it's going to be stored somewhere. Is it going to be stored by the government, like in Australia? Is it going to be stored by the NHS or health service, like in the UK? Or is it going to be somewhere in the cloud or in an LLM with ChatGPT in some way? Somebody has to have it. Or we're back to this carrying around a fiche like I did in France for many years.
But I think that it sounds like to me that OpenAI is your fiche in the cloud.
Yeah,
I don't know. You can't put that on a T-shirt. I don't think that's very catchy. But I think that's kind of what we're sort of espousing here. And I think that backup of here's the synthesis of all my transactional appointments, all that kind of single touch from specialists, having one holistic picture of all those things has a power to change the way care is delivered. Yeah. And I do think that there's probably a power in accessibility for people who don't have access. In the US, at least, access has a lot to do with means. And if you don't have access, you don't have means, then what are you getting? And if this helps democratize some of that, there probably is a lot of power in that. And then I think that's why they see value and why they're excited about it. And I think what we're all sensitive about is that it doesn't just create one more way to victimize people based on a data set that is so sensitive.
Yeah, it's trust, transparency, and so on, which have often been the same issues that come up when adopting new forms of technology for those reasons.
Sure.
It's always going to be a struggle.
Right. Well, so Ryan, do you have just another couple of minutes to chat with us?
Of course.
Because I wanted to broaden the lens a bit. We've talked quite a bit about this news story, and I think we've touched on several pieces of executive protection, but I find executive protection more broadly an interesting area to educate our listeners. For example, when I think, or actually Rory said this earlier, when we think of executive protection, we see these Van Damme figures, protecting their person from any target.
I'm sure there was a movie called that, Executive Protection, wasn't there? He was doing the splits and, attacking people. Anyway.
Tell us more. What is it? Why is it important? Why should executives? We all know some executives who are quite visible. I don't know if they have protection. Why should they? And what is it?
Yeah, I think the world we're living in now, as we've seen from politically motivated violence, from even a year and a half ago, the murder of Brian Thompson, the United Health CEO, it is a real risk being the face of a brand, a movement, a mission, anything. And the more public you are, the more attention you attract. And some of that's good attention and some of that's very bad attention. I think what we see for many high visibility individuals is that physical risk that they're under often starts in the digital realm. So that notion of executive protection that has historically been about close-in protection, about that Bodyguard, another great movie, The Bodyguard.
Yes.
Great soundtrack.
Whitney Houston.
Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that historical notion of how people are protected, moving into the modern age, means the areas of opportunity are very, very great. And the more that the teams who are relied upon to protect high visibility executives and individuals, they need to understand really how to attenuate what things are really at risk and what things are not. So that notion of, how do you cast the net wider? How do you bridge digital, physical, and cyber? And I think of them as sort of different things to protect people. That I think is like an emerging mindset for how all those things work in concert to help people both manage their data exposure and what they look like to someone who wants to do them harm, and then also inform the protections they put in place.
So build the Lego blocks. I'm sorry, Rory. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say that, build the Lego blocks of. I'm just thinking, and we reference lots of movies in this episode, but in The Line of Fire, I quite like that one. Remember the Clint Eastwood one? But the premise being he was an older protection agent. He was kind of struggling to keep up. All the younger ones were saying, Grandpa can't really keep up with what's going on. But it's a little bit like when you see high-profile individuals and they have, close protection officers or bodyguards around them. Is it the case that they should have then, NFC blocking technology on them? Should they have, scanners around the person to pick up perhaps intrusion attempts using Bluetooth or whatever? Is it the case that we should expect modern executive protection to have cyber experts in that kind of physical scrum that's around people in the public eye?
I think, like in cybersecurity, you sort of need an intelligence-informed defense because everyone's risks are different. And the likelihood of, I think what you described is almost a nation-state level espionage assassination campaign where people are hacking through close contact and affecting their pacemakers or whatever it could be. I think that is, for most people, the very peak of paranoia and the ultimate convergence of all the different things that I would think of in the Lego building blocks around this. But I do think, as you look across the landscape, you want to understand first what you look like digitally to anybody who wants to do you harm. And that's all the data that data trail, the exhaust you leave, where is your information, not just your address, but all kinds of other information, your running routes, the places you post reviews, when your kids are posting about your vacation while you're on vacation, like all the things that tip off others to your pattern of life. You need to understand what that looks like, because you need to understand what things you are comfortable sharing and what things you want to better control. Then you have to understand who wants to do you harm. What are the motivations and incentives, and are they people who are just garden variety annoyed and they're trolling you, or are they people who have means and access and actually want to do you harm? That is a threat and risk lens that requires a lot of input and a lot of signal, and then really good judgment. And that then informs the physical and digital and cyber protections that you put in place. I think looking at your homes, looking at your devices, and making sure that those things are pretty well locked down, looking at your travel routes in your office, and it just sort of like goes into concentric circles of defense. And then that's where your physical team starts to better understand where they need to position, what things they need to pay attention to, where can they have a little lower level of scrutiny, and where do they need to spend more time.
And so monitoring, it's the layered defenses, that we have in cybersecurity, but it's slightly more nuanced because it goes out to we have digital and physical security, but this is similar in the sense that it goes out to the physical person, but it's the layered defense of looking at all those different sets of telemetry that you were talking about, monitoring.
And it has to move with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they have to reinforce and inform each other. Things that people are seeing around them in the real world then inform the places you look in the digital space. Things you're seeing in the digital space help inform, where you're in heightened risk and the decisions you make on how to manage those. So like it is a very virtuous cycle.
Super interesting.
Super interesting. Just mulling it over. And probably a side conversation for the Paranoia Cast, which I meant to mention, Christina, is a new podcast I'm going to be talking about.
The Paranoia Cast.
The Paranoia Cast, where all of our deepest fears about strange things and aliens can be reported on. But thank you, Ryan.
I thought that was a podcast I thought that was this one. This isn't that one?
No.
Oh, we renamed it. That's right. It's not Cyber Sidekicks. It's Paranoia Cast.
Paranoia Cast.
Thanks for that, Ryan.
Yeah, we have AI affecting our pacemakers on this one.
We did.
The paranoia one's gonna be really, really exciting.
Well, we did actually consider renaming everything we do with a .ai at the end. And then seeing if we could get some investment.
For sure.
But we thought that was maybe a bit too cynical, even for us. Even for us. But listen, Ryan, it's been great chatting to you again, and we look forward to your next visit to come and see us. Are you going to be at RSAC this year?
I will be there probably Monday and Tuesday. So I just booked my travel. So I'll see you there.
Okay.
There.
Awesome. That would be great. That would be great to do that. Yeah. Okay, great. So thanks again. We look forward to speaking with you and seeing you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ryan.
Great. Well, that was a fantastic chat with Ryan, as ever. I need to get him back again. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that. And probably it's time we should wrap up the show. And let's talk about next week then, Christina.
Yeah, so Ed Martin, who is also a friend of the show and has been on before, he's moved from Microsoft over to Sophos, and he's now the vice president of product management at Sophos. Ooh. Wonderful guy, great guy. I've known him since SecureWorks. But he's going to do something different with us. We're going to chat about how cyber gives back, which I think is really super. So we'll find some news articles on giving back and mentoring. And Ed will talk about his mentoring efforts as well as the other ways he's giving back.
Fantastic. Cool. Yeah, great. Yep. We're also going to be, let's say, switching things up a little bit again, to use your great phrase, Christina.
Fun. Yep.
And on the 17th of March, we're going to be launching a competitive analysis episode.
That'll be fun.
Popular demand. We'll be talking about one particular area of the market, for example, like MDR, which happens to be, in fact, our first topic in March. We'll review...
and that'll include, Rory, right? It'll include MDR, XDR, autonomous SOC, kind of the how SOC is moving. It'll be all of that and a bag of chips, which my friend Ed likes to say. So yeah, I think we're going to start there. Yeah, this competitive analysis will also occur every quarter on the third Tuesday of the month. So March 17 and then June 16 and on. And we'll pick a big topic. I'm guessing that our next topic will be identity and non-human identity and all of that is part of that market. So
yeah,
I think this is going to be really fun, Rory. I think it's going to be interesting. We might get a lot of people mad at us, but that's okay too.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, that's okay. Just tell us why.
It's okay. It's okay. They don't know where we live, Christina.
But Ryan LaSalle might talk about that a little bit more offline. They might know where we live, Rory.
Oh dear. Fine. So on that note, it would be great if you had some feedback for us. Tell us what you like about the show. Tell us what you don't like about the show. Tell us about some things you might be interested in us covering. And you can always get in touch with us via email. It's probably the most convenient way. You can get hold of me, Rory Duncan, through rory@richmondadvisorygroup.com.
Or me, Christina, at richmondadvisorygroup.com.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.